Query letters. Okay, we've done this one. Query letters. Query letters are hard to write. A lot of places you'll be submitting will ask for one of three things. They want a query, a synopsis, or an outline. Most commonly, I've seen query plus synopsis or outline, or sample chapters plus synopsis or outline. Okay? I always preferred to send to these if I could, because anytime I could get my prose in front of them, I felt that my prose would stand on its own. These things are different. A query is one page. Okay? Usually, a query is going to only be like 2 or 3 paragraphs. And what it's going to do is you usually want to, a few things to avoid. Avoid rhetorical. Questions. And avoid sounding like a movie trailer. Often when people write their queries, they try to write their query as if it's the back of the book synopsis, which does these things. And that's why I mention them. Usually the editors are not wanting, what if you couldn't, they usually want to avoid those. If you've got a good one, you can use it. But mostly you want to start your query with a description of, so these are kind of the avoid. You don't want to sound like a movie trailer. Just let me tell you that. You want to have one paragraph about you, and one about, this is about you / facts, and a 1-paragraph book summary. So, first paragraph. My name is Brandon Sanderson. I'm a grad student when I was writing these at Brigham Young University studying writing. I have sent you my epic fantasy novel titled Elantris. It is 240,000 words long with a focus on an interesting magic system. We talked at the World Fantasy Convention in Montreal. I mentioned this book to you. You sound very interested in it, so this is why I'm submitting, or something like that. Or on your blog post, you mentioned, remember the personal connection. You mentioned you like this, or I have loved reading the Dresden Files. I know that you are the editor on this on these books. I'm very impressed with them, and I think I have something of a similar writing style or flair. This is why I've sent the book to you. Something like that. Brief explanation and facts about the book. It is an urban fantasy with a strong female protagonist set in 1920s London. Something like that, okay? Then your 1-sentence book summary. These are hard because basically what you've got to do is you've got to boil your book down to one interesting thing that you can talk about. Don't try and tell the whole book. Try and talk about one interesting thing. And imagine someone was walking along in the bookstore, and they're like, what's your book about? For Mistborn, I always said, my story is about a gang of thieves who decide to rob the Dark Lord and try and rip him off, bribe his armies away from him, and overthrow the Empire. Quick synopsis like that. And then the second paragraph has to be, the main protagonist is a 16-year-old girl who's recruited into this team and trained to use the magic that they know how to use because they realize they're all too easily identifiable and they need a new face to act as their mole among the nobility. And that's it. That's my book summary. 2 sentences of something interesting. What the main kind of plot hook is and what's interesting about the main character.
Jim Butcher does something for this. He kind of has a skeletal structure for it. He says, when something happens, your protagonist pursues a goal, but will he succeed when the antagonist provides opposition?
Yeah.
Pretty basic.
Yep. You don't want to give the whole book, okay? You want to get across, just in 1 paragraph, something cool. Avoid lots of new names, okay? You can name your protagonist, but don't say, in the world of Garthnap, young Dithel Flam is a aspiring fling-flinger, and he decides that to join the fling-flinger group, I mean, stay away. We have so many cool names. Don't use those, okay? Give yourself like 1, maybe 2 names, all right? Stay away from them. Jane.
I note a lot of agents are saying you should actually flip the 2.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably should. You probably should. Yeah, I always wrote them this way, but yeah.
It's because everybody's reading them on their phones, and so if you...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. So you can learn how to write a killer query letter online. I can give you these little kind of advice. The real thing that comes into it is try and boil your book down to one cool concept that you can explain to someone in 1 sentence. The strange attractor will help you with this. What is familiar and what is strange, and how does the combination of the 2 of them make something interesting? Okay? Yeah.
Do you mention the series and other books?
Nope. No. No. You can, if you really feel like it, say, this is a standalone book but has series potential. Don't scare the editor off with, this is the first book of my 30-book epic fantasy series. And yeah, I would just say this is my book, and your first book, guys, should have a good ending and should stand on its own. Don't be sending out anything that doesn't do that, okay? Even if it's part of a series, make that ending satisfying. That's a big thing that I feel personally, artistically, you should be doing with your books, particularly when you're an author that nobody knows yet, okay? So, practice this online. Practice taking, or by reading online, practice going to films with your friends, and then afterwards saying, can we boil this down to the 2 or 3 sentence? 1 sentence about a character, 1 sentence about a conflict, 1 sentence about a cool concept. What in this movie how would we pitch it if we were writing this, or do it with books that you all know? What's the pitch for Star Wars? What's the pitch for Indiana Jones? These sort of things, and see if you can do it, and that will help you. It's going to kill you because you can't put all the cool stuff in it that you want to, but you have to do it anyway. Yeah.
It's a great way to get inspiration for your own stories too.
Yeah.
I mean, get the core concept right out of that.
Yep. And then turn it and make it your own. Yeah. All right. So synopsis outline. People have different definitions on what these are. Usually this is like a 1 to 2 page, and this is like a 3 to 5 page. But see if you can figure out what their own definition is, and if you can't find it, use I would say the 2 to 3 pager for a synopsis or an outline, okay? And in this, you can go more into depth. This is just 2 pages of my story starts here. Here's what's interesting about this. This is where the conflict goes, yada, 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 and here's the cool climax. Do not leave out the cool climax. Editors don't want to be surprised. Editors want to know that your story has a good ending. Okay? Yes? No, it's good.
Would you, if you had a book to pitch, would you write basically a form query, a form synopsis, and a form outline, and then just adjust them as you submit? Or do you write one from scratch every time?
I write one from scratch. And this one, the paragraph in here, would become my pitch if I met editors and they actually asked for one. Like when you're at this con and you're talking to the editor about what they find exciting and all these things, and you say, I have a book that you might want to read. Could I send it to you? Most of the time they'll say, yeah, here's my card, send me sample chapters. Sometimes they will say, yeah, what's your book about? That is when you pull out this thing that you have practiced saying to your friends 100 times so you can get it off really fast. Don't make it sound like you've said it 100 times. Make it sound like it's exciting, that you're just talking, but really you want to go 1 paragraph and give them this thing, okay? Be ready to fire that off when they ask for it. When a reader, when your friends say, maybe I'll read your book, what's it about? You want to be able to fire this one off, okay? When you get really good, you'll have like 4 or 5 of them, and you'll tailor them to the person walking along that's, asking about your book. The YA editor that you send Mistborn to, you say, it's about a 16-year-old girl who, the science fiction editor, you say, it's a heist story where everyone has a different magical talent, and they're going to pull them all together to use and pull off this awesome heist. To the fantasy editor, you say, the person who does a lot more fantasy, you say, imagine if the prophesied hero who was supposed to save the world failed. that is a rhetorical question. But, you know, what if the hero failed? So I broke my own rule there. But what if the hero failed? What if, you know, game this cast of plucky sidekicks and they went on this quest and then failed, Dark Lord took over the world? That one I usually do is like a 3-paragrapher if someone's really interested, and then I go into the Gang of Thieves and stuff, and then things like that. So, yeah, you can have a few of them you can tailor depending on what the person, you know, likes. All right.
Do you normally have your writing group read over those before sending them off, or is
No, but you could. I was terrible at these back then. I've only learned to do them now since I've been published, which, you know, is also kind of ironic. All right.